So time is running out for Donald Trump to secure a bond covering the nearly $500 million he owes in a New York civil fraud judgment against his business. The ex-president now has just 3 days left to find someone willing to issue him that bond if he wants to avoid actually coughing up the cash while he appeals. At the beginning of the week, Trump's lawyers claimed in a court filing it was, quote, not possible for him to obtain a bond for the full amount of his judgment, which comes to $454 million. They said that Trump had been rejected by 30 companies who issue bonds. That sparked a whole lot of speculation about how he may have to sell off some of his assets or that they could even be seized by New York State. Trump, of course, owns a significant amount of valuable property in New York and several other states. Today, the ex-president appeared to break some news about his financial status. In a lengthy, all-caps, early morning post on Truth Social, Trump claimed that he has plenty of money to back up the bond. Quote, through hard work, talent, and luck, I currently have almost $500 million in cash. This declaration brings up an important question. If it is true he has $500 million lying around, why did his lawyers tell the court that no one would give him a bond for less than that amount? Either the lawyers were lying or Donald Trump is lying. You can probably guess which is more likely. But it is certainly possible Trump will be able to pull a rabbit out of a hat and secure a bond by Monday. In fact, there's a huge real development today that could just do the trick, although it's a little unclear. Trump's media company, which includes Truth Social, became a public company through a merger that will raise Trump's wealth by billions of dollars and potentially help pay his mounting legal bills. As the New York Times explains it, Trump Media and Technology Group is poised to debut on Wall Street at a market value of around $5 billion. The ex-president owns more than 60% of the company, which works out to about $3 billion. However, there are restrictions in the merger agreement that prevent major shareholders from selling shares for at least 6 months or using them as collateral for loans. But because Trump controls so much of Trump Media, and because his allies are expected to make up a majority of the board, the members of the board could waive those restrictions on request. Got all that? So with the clock ticking, I don't know, can he get it done by Monday? Let's ask Adam Reese, who's a reporter for NBC News, who's closely following the story, and he joins me now. Adam, great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. He says he has the cash on Truth Social, but if he had the cash, then we probably wouldn't be in this situation, right? Is that a fair determination?
Yeah. When the E. Jean Carroll case happened, he had the bond, he had the money for the bond, but he was still asking the court for more time. So it's possible he actually has the money right now. I don't think that's the case. So we're going to get to Monday, and it's going to be a showdown, and we'll see what happens.
Showdown where? Like showdown at court, like with Judge Engoron?
Well, we need to keep a close eye on the docket. Judge Engoron is tightening the screws on him. The monitor is there. The Trump Organization essentially can't do anything without the court and the monitor knowing. She is on top of it. She's been there for about 16 months. Anything they do, transfers of funds, financial accounting, moving money from one source to another, she's going to know about it and report back to the court.
Okay, so one way this could go down is this media merger, right, where Trump Media is merging with this company that's already, I guess, a public company, right? They're like one of these special vehicles, right, a SPAC, right? And this happened today. The digital world, that's who he's going to merge with, their stock price plunged more than 13% Friday to just under $37 because Trump will own roughly 78 million shares in the post-merger company. The fall in price cut Trump's paper take from the deal by around $457 million, which is rough. That's exactly how much he owns. That's how much the stock declined today.
Right.
But the big question is, like, because the deal's happening, could you then go use your stock as collateral for a loan to get a bond?
I don't think there's any chance that can happen. It went public. It's worth about $5 billion, allegedly on paper. He has 60% of it at $3 billion. Can he sell that? It's locked up for a period of time. Even if it gets unlocked, can he sell that stock? To me, it's essentially monopoly money.
Why? Just because you're saying, well, obviously you can't go into a market with 60% of the shares without utterly destroying the value of the stock.
And also, you need enough people that want to invest in Truth Social.
Yes, you have to find buyers. Right. So you think that is, but I guess in the shorter term, like, you don't see a way that he basically uses some waiver from the board over the weekend to then take stock as collateral for a bond?
It doesn't appear that's even possible.
Okay, that you don't think that's happening?
That's not a scenario that's feasible at all.
Okay. So when you say showdown on Monday, walk me through what we are anticipating.
I think that the Attorney General is not going to slap a sticker on Trump Tower. That's just not their style. I think it's
there are many
more
people who would like that to happen. I'm just pointing that out. But yes, I agree with you.
FBI agents with FBI jackets storming the place,
or like chains with like a master lock in front.
I think it's more likely we're going to see some type of attachment to his, maybe his Schwab accounts. He used some Schwab accounts to pay E. Jean Carroll. Some of his more liquid assets is something they're more likely to take than some of his buildings, which not only have lost value, but are leveraged and are already encumbered.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when we put up those graphics, some of the things you'll see, like Trump World Tower, which net value of $19.8 million. You're like, well, that doesn't seem enough. But that's because there's a bunch of condos already sold. So it's less than it might appear. There's other buildings that have big outstanding loans against them, mortgages, essentially. So let me ask you a technical question. When you say that Charles Schwab, again, this is way outside my normal area of expertise, but I guess, can the government just yoink, reach into your Charles Schwab account and be like, this money is now ours?
They can now. They've already gotten the court order. They don't need to go back to the court. They can go to the sheriff, and if that's the case, and they can do it. They could have done it weeks ago, but they've given the Trump Organization a grace period. That takes us to Monday, and that's the deadline.
Yet another Republican congressman has decided to quit his job rather than deal with a toxically dysfunctional GOP House majority. Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin just started serving in the House in 2017, relatively young guy. And he's kind of a standard conservative Republican. He's got a plum assignment as the head of the Select Committee on China. He voted with Trump most of the time, voted in favor of tax cuts, against abortion. Today he announced he'll be leaving Congress, wait for it, not at the end of the year, on April 19th. He can't take it. He needs to get out. He's not even going to serve out the next 10 months, which will leave the Republican Party with one of the slimmest majorities in history. Last month, you might recall, they lost the special election for the seat formerly occupied by George Santos. Then Colorado Republican Ken Buck resigned. His last day was today. Again, he's not waiting around till the end of the term. And now Mike Gallagher is like, peace, everyone. As of tonight, Republicans have a 218 to 213 majority, so they can only lose 2 votes on a party line bill. Once Gallagher leaves, they can only lose 1 vote. If more than one single Republican deflects after April 19th, they lose the vote. They will need Democrats to help pass legislation. The 118th Congress is in utter shambles. So you can understand a bit why Gallagher and Buck want out. Just look at what happened there today, okay? First, a majority of Republicans voted against Speaker Mike Johnson's big spending bill to keep the government open and funded. Then Marjorie Taylor Greene filed a motion to kick him out of his job.
Today I filed a motion to vacate after Speaker Johnson has betrayed our conference and broken our rules. This is basically a warning, and it's time for us to go through the process, take our time, and find a new Speaker of the House that will stand with Republicans and our Republican majority instead of standing with the Democrats.
Sal Kapoor is a senior national political reporter for NBC News who's been covering this bad day for House Republicans as he writes it up, and he joins me now. There's a lot to get to here, so let's just start with the Gallagher announcement, because I want to stress to people, this really doesn't happen that much. I mean, you've got Kevin McCarthy leaving, Ken Buck, now Gallagher. How did this land in the Capitol today?
Well, it was shocking to many Republicans, Chris. It's exceedingly rare to see this many prominent members of a majority party in the House resign mid-session. And Gallagher was a particularly shocking one because he is one of the youngest Republicans in the chamber. He has been, pegged as a rising star within the party. He's only 40 years old. He just turned 40 recently, and he has decided he's had enough of this place. His one recent vote that went against his party was the vote on impeaching Alejandro Mayorkas. He voted against that. He said it was not a good idea. And other than that, he's generally voted with the team. He's not been someone who's been bucking the party line or making demands of the party necessarily. So that was a particularly shocking situation that Gallagher is leaving. Kind of a reminder that institutionalists in the party are not very happy these days.
Let me just note that Mike Gallagher and Buck, along with Tom McClintock, were two of the three, right? So people who are eyeing the exits were like, yeah, this is nonsense. So now you've got this situation where the majority, first of all, my understanding is, according to Wisconsin law, there will be no special. That if he left earlier, like April 2nd, there would have been a special election, but waiting to April 19th means the seat stays open the rest of the year, and the Republicans can't get that back.
Yeah, that does seem to be the situation right now, Chris, which makes it even harder for Speaker Johnson to be able to govern for the rest of this year. He's looking at a one-seat majority, as you just pointed out. The margins are going down, down, down. There are some vacancies left to fill, although there's a chance that one safe Democratic seat in New York could be filled, which thins his margin even further, makes it even tougher for him in the event of an absence or two to pass bills. And the Ken Buck situation, that's very instructive. I mean, Ken Buck is a conservative hardliner. He's a member of the Freedom Caucus. He has unassailable fiscal conservative credentials, so conservative, in fact, that he cost his party a Senate seat in Colorado years ago for being too conservative. And now he has been essentially airbrushed out of the party because last fall he stood up and started demanding that the new speaker, the last time when they evicted Kevin McCarthy, stand up and reject the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen. He wanted an emphatic statement that the 2020 election was legitimate, it was won by Joe Biden, and that Donald Trump simply lost. And that didn't sit well with his party. And since then, it's been a downward spiral to the point where he's decided, I don't even want to finish my term here. I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for that to be a litmus test for people's participation in any sort of mainstream American institution, politics, media, whatever, that you reject the big lie. It seems that the actual voting that happened today means we're going to get a deal in the Senate. But again, the Marjorie Taylor Greene motion to vacate, which is a sort of fake one, I don't even know what they want. They don't know what they want. The whole thing is such a mess. There's no unifying governing vision. All they can unify around is Donald Trump, which in some ways makes him more vital to them. But it seems to me that there's nothing binding the whole caucus together, no shared vision of what they want to do with the levers of power.
Well, Chris, I read the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing today as more of a warning shot. It's basically her saying to Speaker Johnson, if you step out of line again, I'm going to pull the trigger on this, and you're going to have to find the votes to stay in power. It's not clear to me that Marjorie Taylor Greene even has the votes today to remove Mike Johnson. I cannot name a single Republican who has come out and said that they would vote to evict him if that vote were to come up today. In fact, two of the GOP lawmakers who voted to remove Kevin McCarthy last fall, I spoke to them in the last few days. That's Bob Good and Matt Gaetz. Both of them told me, Matt Gaetz said he explicitly opposes a motion to vacate the chair and remove Mike Johnson. And Bob Good, who's the current chair of the Freedom Caucus, said he's not going there, that he was not going down that road today. He just wanted to talk about the policy of the bill. And in terms of the governing fractures you pointed out, that's another serious problem here. I mean, you saw that a majority of House Republicans voted against that government funding bill today that Speaker Mike Johnson struck with Democrats. Again, remember, this is a divided government. They're not going to get what they want. You can't.
But that's a huge deal to lose a majority, of your own caucus. Like, functionally, it renders them a useless majority because you can't actually pass a thing with a majority of them.
Yeah, that's been the problem that Speaker Johnson has had for a while. He can't even pass a so-called rule anymore because, enough of his members will defect on this procedural process that had been so rote that was barely known to people. He has to do this so-called suspension of the rules, which requires 2/3 to get anything done, and that required a 2/3 majority today. They needed 67% of the chamber. They got 68% of the chamber for that $1.2 trillion spending bill. That bill almost failed because of the Republican infighting. But nevertheless, it did pass, which is important. He got it through. Now it's gone over to the Senate, which is struggling to get agreement to pass this. We might be stumbling into a government shutdown tonight, Chris. The one thing this divided Congress, for all its problems, was able to do up until now is avoid a government shutdown. It looks like that's going to end tonight after 4 stopgap bills, after months and months of negotiating. We're halfway through the fiscal year. I don't think I've ever seen an appropriations process quite like this before.
All right, Sahil Kapoor, thank you very much.